Is everybody here? Is Julia going to be here? Oh, there she is. Hi, Julia. Julia, do we know if Heidi Rosenleaf will be here? Should we wait for her? Okay. Okay. So it is now 5:30 on June the 17th, Tuesday, which is the advertised time and date for this meeting of the Zoning Board of Adjustment. So I will now call the meeting to order. I would first of all like to introduce the staff. Seated up here in front of me on the table is Julia Crane, Planning Director. On my left, on my far left, is Aidan Dennehy. And next to Aidan is Joella Thomas. And the lady across the way from them is Becky Roll, and she'll be keeping track of things here tonight. The members of the Zoning Board of Adjustment that are present tonight, on my far right is Lexi Murphy, Stephen Coe. On my far left is Garrett Craig, Shanna Adams, and Justin DeShazo. Lexi and Justin are new members. I'd like to welcome you both to the board. So the first matter on our agenda is Special Use Permit 25-8, a special use application by Pereira Property Holdings. Is the representative of Pereira? Okay. And do we have a presentation from the staff with regard to this?
We do, Mr. Chairman.
You can come up if you want. You'll be given a chance to speak a little bit later.
Do you want me to sit there?
No, you can stay up there if you want to.
This application is for special use 25-8, and it's the Ferrer Property Holdings LLC, Jeff and Maya Ferrer. The proposal is to locate an Airbnb in an existing residence per section 1738-180, special uses allowed of the Butte-Silver Municipal Code. The applicants are proposing to rent out a 4-bedroom residence for overnight stays and short-term rentals through online hosting program. This is an aerial view. The property is on Skyway Avenue, dictated right here. The zone is an R1 or a single-family residential zone. And the comprehensive plan place type is the contemporary place type, which is generally single-family residential housing, but also provide the opportunity for higher density housing where appropriate. They are generally pedestrian-friendly and accessible for all modes of transportation. As you can see on this picture here, these are all single-family residential homes in this area. Some of the potential nuisances that can be caused from short-term rentals are that short-term renters may be less concerned about creating excessive noise within the neighborhood, and staff would suggest that the owners enforce rules through the online hosting program that does not allow 4 parties. Also, wayfinding. Staff believes that the address should be clearly posted and be visible from the street to mitigate the potential for guests to mistake a neighbor's home for the rental unit. And the applicant states that the house is posted with an address on the front of the residence, and street signs are posted at the intersections. Some of the conditions of approval are the same as the other Airbnbs that we've seen. The applicant shall be required to secure a state of Montana public accommodation license through the Butte-Silver Health Department. Any remodeling of the existing residence performed to accommodate the proposed business will be required to meet all applicable building codes, health codes, and fire code. and all necessary approvals must be granted prior to the applicants receiving final business license approval. The property address must be visible and include past dark, and entrance must be clearly identified. The applicants shall be limited to the occupancy levels as determined by the Butte-Silver Bow Building Code Department and the Butte-Silver Bow Fire Marshal. The occupancy levels shall be determined prior to the business license being approved as well. And the applicants will be limited specifically to the business as stated and approved. Any future business expansion, changes in the business, or building expansion will require further review by the Zoning Board of Adjustments. The applicant will be required to acquire a Butte-Silver Bow business license for the short-term rental. In conclusion, based on the above information, staff's analysis of the review criteria, and any public opinions as it relates to the criteria, the board must determine if the applicant has presented evidence to the satisfaction of the board that said undue detriment will not result from the granting of a special use permit for the short-term rental. Section 1738-160, special or conditional use permit decisions of the board, requires staff to refer the application to the board within 15 days of the receipt of the application and all requested information. The board shall within 60 days deny the application and give reason for the denial in writing to the applicant, or approve the application, and the zoning officer shall issue a zoning compliance permit with conditions specified herein. Thank you.
Thank you, Joella. Sir, you can now provide any information to the board that you think would be appropriate.
Yes, thank you for your time. So it is a five-bedroom house also.
Do you have your, there it is.
Oh, is that better? I'm sorry.
Yes, it is.
Thank you again for having me here. It is a five-bedroom house. We plan on keeping it, the way it is and everything like that. The house is already, it's updated. It had previous owners that did a lot of work to it, so it didn't really need too much. We love the neighborhood. I've already met the neighbors. I've been invited to barbecues and dinners, and I've told them what we were doing. We plan on spending a lot of time there as well. So it's not going to always be for an Airbnb, but I do have other interests up here where I have long-term rentals. I've been coming to Butte for 20 years now, and I love Butte. I don't want to see Butte change. Under constraints, things are always going to happen, but parking is, there's a 2-car garage. There's at least 2 in the driveway, and then there's at least 2 in the front. We plan on limiting it to 3 cars. We will put all the safeguards into making sure that whoever we rent to are going to be good people through the site that are verified, and there won't be any parties. There will be time constraints on when people are allowed to be, outside using the outside, because it is beautiful and it is Montana. When it's 10 degrees, that'll help keep people inside. So, but that's only 10 months out of the year, 9 months. But, I hope that you guys see that we put a lot of thought into this, and we put a lot of thought into the application, and tried to answer all the questions to the best of our ability and everything like that. So.
Okay, sir. Did you review the conditions that the board suggested?
Yes, about the parking, and then about the making sure that really about the neighborhood not being affected, and that's our goal as well. Because we've in studying about Airbnbs, this is our first time, but we've extensively said, my wife and I if we do something, we dedicate our time to it, and so we've seen the pitfalls. Parking is absolutely, it seems like, one of the most contentious things. We have that figured out. We'll limit the amount of cars that can be there, and we're lucky that house has so much ample parking. 2-car garage, at least 2 cars in the driveway, and then 2 dedicated spots. I don't want to say dedicated because that's the street parking, but neighbors tend to feel like it's their parking.
Right.
So we would not, we would put very stern instructions for anybody that would be getting it to adhere to it. And we do have cameras on the outside, so we'll be able to monitor. We have a blink system that lets us know when people would be getting there and stuff like that. And so really what we've seen is just having a good set of rules, and then working with the Airbnb and Vrbo sites, because they do backgrounds and they make sure that the people that are coming, so it would always be through there. So it's people that have been checked out, and it's not going to be, no parties. They have a lot of rules, and they have a lot of things, boxes that you can check. And we plan on having all those rules in place, so.
Okay. So are all of the conditions acceptable to you?
Yes,
Okay. Thank you, sir.
thank you very much.
Is there anybody present that would care to speak in support of this application? Hearing nobody. Is there anybody present that would care to speak against this application? Yes, sir. If you could come forward and identify yourself by giving your name and address.
Yes, my name is Gary McWhorter. I live at 2200 Skyway, which is immediately adjacent to the proposed facility. Of interest is he's never introduced himself to me or talked with me in spite of what he said. I am concerned about the addition and the change. I'm not convinced that he will be able to control from a distance the parking, the partying, all of the disruptions that might happen. You don't know, in spite of what has been said about Airbnb or Vrbo or whomever controlling people, I don't know that that will be the case. I'm concerned about safety, about potentially drug abuse and other factors that could be entered. This subdivision was created in about 1962 or 3, so it's 65 years almost of a single family residential area. When we purchased our home almost 40 years ago, that's what we expected it to always be. I don't really see the need of additions of commercial ventures in a residential single-family area. I would propose that this variance be denied and we keep the character of this subdivision of my family unit and the rest of the area as is, as opposed to this proposal. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your comments. Linda, would you care to speak? And give your address, please, Linda Trevena, your address.
Linda Trevena, 3475 St. Anne. I am here representing 3465 and 3495 and 3468. I think it's across the street. Anyway, I have become the oldest neighbor in that neighborhood. And during the last few years, I've seen all these young families move in. So 2 of the families have 3 young children. One of them has 2 young children. And it is a very, very young neighborhood-oriented area now. I also listened to this gentleman say he has other long lease, long rent, whatever. So he's in the business. So why didn't he check out what the ramifications would be before he bought this place? On the other hand, I have a sister that owns a beautiful townhome in Vail, and they go there every weekend, and they had somebody try and do this same thing, which turned out to be exactly what he's saying. There's ample parking, this or that. Well, you're not there, you don't see what goes on, you don't hear about it, and that homeowner was charged with a fine and told if he ever violated again, there would be bigger charges. So I'm just saying, it all sounds good, but it's not, and we don't need it in our neighborhood.
Thank you for your comments. Is there anybody else, sir? Yes, if you could come forward and identify yourself, giving your name and address.
Thank you for having me. I'm Chad Jonart, and I live at 2215 Skyway, right across the street from the proposed property. I'm also family with 3 little kids in the neighborhood, and across the street or right down the street is the 2 more kids there. I'm worried about the safety. There's not ample parking there. There's people parking our spot all the time. There's kids riding down bikes all day long. And it's been proven that Airbnbs do increase traffic. There's different, like, obviously people living in the neighborhood understand the traffic laws and how to drive because there's a bunch of kids. You get somebody whipping around there that hasn't been around there very long, it becomes a safety issue. Also, there's a lot of issues with Airbnbs anyways, and there's the detriments, and I think there's a proposal in Bozeman that's going to be, they're going to ban them because of the property values and people can't afford to live there anymore. This is like everybody said, this is a residential area with young children, with small families, and we don't need it to be a transient living population. I believe I've met Jeff. Jeff is a very nice guy. I don't believe there's a need to change the direction of the neighborhood that's been set for 65 years. I also know that a lot of kids ride their bike to school, and it's hard to control what's going on there from a distance. And I just don't see a need for this area to have an Airbnb. There's outside of just staying there, there's no recreation, there's nothing out, I don't understand, I'd like to know how this benefits Butte and the neighborhood, which I believe it only benefits Jeff. I don't think that there's any proposal that say Airbnbs are good for communities and they help families out. Whereas in this term, like we know that in Butte right now, we need more long-term rentals. People are struggling to afford things. And these Airbnbs with the short term, they're killing those off. And again, I would like to hopefully there's some legislation down the line that would kind of curb this issue and keep our neighborhoods the way they have been. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your comments. Is there anybody else that would care to speak against this application? Hearing nobody. Sir, you now have the opportunity to speak in rebuttal of these different concerns that have been registered by the opponents, if you would care to do so.
I totally understand how people feel. I really do. And I have met some of the neighbors that are here. I did not meet the gentleman who lives next door. But I understand their concerns, and all I can say is, Airbnb is already here in Butte. There's already plenty of them. And I don't think there's always going to be some problems, but I don't think you can speculate that there's problems until there's problems. There's good owners, there's bad owners. The things that Airbnb does, it brings revenue. Like, we plan on having a list of places, restaurants that people can go to. And there is lots of things to do in Butte. There's parks nearby, there's fishing, Montana Tech. There is a need for Airbnb. Like, when we were doing our look at it, we bought the house because we love the house. We plan on spending time there. So I'm gonna be their neighbor. So I don't want to have any issues, and I totally respect all their, how they feel. All I can say is that we will do everything we can to not let it be a problem. And there are safeguards that, otherwise Airbnb wouldn't be so big and it wouldn't be so popular. And it does bring revenue to the city. Taxes, different things. My taxes are gonna go up if I become a short-term rental with the passage. I understand that. But we didn't buy the house especially for Airbnb. We love the neighborhood. It's a neighborhood we've seen. My wife and I already spend a decent amount of time up here in Butte. So this is the first time where it feels like we've got our own house that we plan on being at part of the time. So, but I do understand the concerns. And all I can say is that I'm approachable. You can always come to me, and I will do that. Now, I also do have a property management company in Butte. So even though I will be away sometimes, we will always have representatives here that will be able to handle any issues that are going on. And I've done that successfully for 5-6 years now. And I've never had any problems. I've had one issue where a neighbor had a problem in their property, and I absolutely fixed it right away. And even speaking with the person that I spoke with in the code enforcement was so happy. They're like, that's great, that's what we like, And we got the issue resolved, no problems. So all I can say is that's my record and, what I plan on doing. So hopefully that'll ease some people's minds, and I'm happy to give my information to anybody that wants it. And they can talk to me if they have any concerns. I'll always listen, you know, to see if there's anything I can do to rectify any issue that possibly could come up that we don't know will come up for sure. So, but thank you for your time. Hopefully that helps.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I will now close the public portion of the meeting and open it for board discussion. First, as was indicated under the code, we have up to 15 days to make our decision. Typically, we decide these matters on the evening that they're presented to us, but I always check with the board to see if there's, if that's acceptable or people think that they might want to take the additional time to consider this issue. Is there any thought about deciding it tonight or waiting 15 days? To me, it seems that we could do it.
I would be comfortable making the decision tonight, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you, Garrett. Any other thoughts, Stephen? Okay. I know you're new, Lexi, but that's what we usually do. And Justin? Okay, Shannon, it's okay by you? Okay, we'll make our decision tonight instead of waiting 15 days. Any thoughts with regard to this matter by any board members?
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, you know, I understand, you know, concerns around the parking and traffic, but similar to past special uses that have been before us, I don't think that's within our purview to make a judgment on. You know, I appreciate Jeff coming before us, applying for a special use application. There's a lot of Airbnbs in Butte that are operating illegitimately. So definitely appreciate following the process. Similar to past special use applications, I wouldn't have a problem approving this one.
Okay, thank you, Garrett. Shannon, were you going to make some comments?
I think I've said some of this before, but generally speaking, I share a lot of the concerns that we heard tonight about short-term rentals in Butte. We've seen other communities cap them or put certain restrictions on them. I would like to see something like that happen in Butte. I think a lot of the short-term rentals are not, I don't know if they're paying the lodging tax. I don't think they're paying the T-bid. And there are concerns about all the things that we heard today. But, you know, I think we have approved these. I don't know that there has not been a precedent for us to deny these in the past. I guess a question for the planning board or the planning director may be, you know, if there are issues with an Airbnb, like these neighbors have raised, what is the recourse?
Julia, would you care to answer that?
Mr. Chairman, Member Adams, members of the board, in this particular instance, because this special use permit would come with conditions of approval, any violation to existing city-county ordinances or issues with the conditions of approval may lead to civil penalties, fines and violations, or revocation of the conditional use permit, or excuse me, the special use permit.
Thank you, Julia. Stephen, Lexi? Justin? For the newer members on the board, we've had a considerable number of special use permit applications for short-term rentals. It's been a lot, actually, over the last few years. And when we look at these and register the complaints that are made by the neighbors, often parking comes up. But then a lot of board members have indicated that, you know, a family of 8 could move in, 8 teenagers, all with their own cars, trucks, or whatever, and they would not be coming before this board to get approval to do that. So what's the alternative as opposed to a short-term rental? And I'm just bringing that up, so since we get so many of these, that you might want to think about it. Was there some others we talked about, Stephen, do you remember?
No, I don't think so. I don't think so, to answer your question. And I think, I guess my opinion, but I share the opinion of the other board members. But hearing the protections that are provided, from the director, that, there are repercussions if they don't follow these things.
There are repercussions.
Yeah, it feels pretty safe to me.
You can't just obtain your permit and then do whatever you want. That isn't the way it works. Okay. Well, does anybody care to make a motion with regard to this application?
Mr. Chairman, I'd make a motion to approve special use application 25-8 with the conditions as outlined.
Is there a second to that motion?
I was trying to goat Shanna into doing it. I'll do it.
Have I heard a second?
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay, thank you. It's been moved and seconded, and we're now in a position to vote. Thank you, Shannon. Thanks, Justin. All 6 votes were for the motion. That means that your application has been approved, and you will be receiving a letter from the planning staff to that effect. Now, with regard to the people that were opposed to this particular application, your concerns would have to, at this point, be met by filing a petition in district court within 30 days, with the first day being Wednesday, tomorrow, June the 18th. And you could file a petition asking district court to throw her approval out. Thank you. The next matter on our agenda is special use application 25-9. Is there a representative of Restor? That would be you? Okay. And Aiden, you're going to do this one?
I am, yes. All right. This is special use 25-9 for 701 South Arizona Street, units 101 and 102.
Just a real quick correction.
Is it 202? I was just thinking 101 and 202.
Okay, thank you.
It's correct in the paperwork that we got. It's just
All right, we'll let her continue, and you can address those matters when you get a chance to speak.
So this is by Restore Design Build. Their proposal is to locate 2 short-term rentals in an existing residential condo complex. Per section 1738-180, special use is allowed in the Butte-Silver Municipal Code. The property in question is legally addressed as 701 South Arizona Street, units 101 and 202. Lodging provided by a homeowner for compensation is recognized as a special use allowed in any residential zoning district, provided that the prescribed use is in harmony with other uses permitted in the zone and not found to be contrary to the public interest. We have to provide the board with information about the proposed special use, the applicant and planning staff have responded to an established 20 questions outlined herein. This is 2 aerial view images of the proposed location. As you can see, it's located in the CM zoning district and adjacent to the M2L zoning district. This is an outside view of the building. Location and character of the property and surrounding buildings. The property is located in the CM, Commercial and Light Industrial Zone. The existing building was granted a variance to allow for residential uses in 2021. That is variance 21-2. The surrounding area consists of residential, commercial, and industrial uses, including Casa Grande Steakhouse, S.J. Perry, R&R Electric, and Steele's Furniture. Proposed vehicle access, circulation, and parking. Vehicle access to and from the property is acceptable for the proposed use. Access to the front of the residence is provided via off-street parking on South Arizona Avenue. Aluminum Street also features off-street parking options for guests. Off-street parking seems to be the primary parking option in the area. Neighboring residents have expressed parking concerns in the past. Planning staff recommend incorporating specific parking instructions in their rental listing to include no parking in front of adjacent residential properties. There appears to be no handicap-specific parking areas. Planning staff also recommends the applicant provide detailed description of parking accommodations in the rental listing. Potential nuisances. A primary concern could be increased traffic. However, if the occupancy of the condo is in conformance with the residential building code, renting out the unit on a short-term basis should not considerably increase traffic as to what is commonly expected. Short-term renters may be less concerned about creating excessive noise. Staff would suggest the applicants enforce a no-party rule in their listing. The use conforms to the objectives of the comprehensive plan and the purpose of the ordinance. This parcel is located within the north corridor place type of the comprehensive plan. This serves as a major transportation route for people and goods, linking urban neighborhoods to each other and providing fast and easy access to the urban core of Butte. When considering the low-impact commercial nature of the proposal, planning staff believes it would have a minimal impact on adjacent properties and property owners. The established character of the existing neighborhood would not appear to be impacted by this proposal. There would be no change to the aesthetic or the surrounding of the area. The conditions of approval, similar to our previous presentation, that applicants will have to acquire a public accommodations license through the health department. Any remodeling of the residence must comply with building and health codes. The property address must be visible, including past dark, and entrances must be clearly labeled. The applicant shall be limited to the occupancy level as determined by the Building Code Department and the Butte-Silver Fire Marshal. The applicants will be limited specifically to the business as stated and approved. Any future expansion changes will be required further review by the Zoning Board of Adjustment. The applicant will be required to obtain a Butte-Silver business license for the short-term rental. In conclusion, based on the information provided in the application, staff's analysis of the review criteria, and any public opinion as it relates to the criteria, the board must determine if the applicant has presented evidence to the satisfaction of the board that said undue detriment will not result from the granting of this special use permit. And that is the conclusion of this presentation.
Thank you, Aidan. Would the applicant care to provide further information with regard to this matter?
Macy Salser. I live at 701 South Arizona. My husband is also here. We just got done developing the building into 5 apartments, so I just wanted to note that we do have an HOA, so we have pretty decent rules around parking and quiet hours and all that kind of stuff. And it's been going pretty well so far. So we also live on site currently, so that helps with kind of keeping people in check, I guess, or addressing issues pretty quickly if they do come up. So I just wanted to mention that while you guys, if you have any other questions.
Are you, okay, ma'am, have you read the conditions of approval?
Yes.
Are they acceptable to you?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Do you have anything else you want to tell us?
I don't think so.
Okay. I'll check and see if there's anybody here who supports your application. Thank you. Yes, sir. Do you want to come up and say that on the record? Okay. All right. Good enough. Is there anybody else that supports the application? Is there anybody present that would care to speak against the application? Hearing nobody, I'll close the public portion of the meeting and open it for board discussion. Seems pretty straightforward to me.
Yeah, I think this one's even easier. Last week or last month, we saw another unit in this come through and we approved it, so I'd be hard pressed to vote against this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's a good application. Anybody else have any comments with regard to it? Okay. Once again, just to make sure, we do have up to 15 days before we make our decision. Are the board members agreeable to hearing and making our decision tonight? Okay. Tonight it will be then. Any other thoughts or concerns? Okay. Does anybody care to make a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve the application with the conditions as stated.
Okay, thank you, Shanna.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded, and we can now vote. Thank you, Stephen. Thank you, Justin. All 6 votes were for the motion, so your application has been approved, and you will be receiving a letter from the planning staff to that effect. Thank you. Next matter on our agenda is conditional use permit 25-1. Conditional use permit by Zipley Fiber Pacific and Alan Schindler. Is there a representative of the applicant? Yes, sir, thank you. Aiden, you're going to do this one too?
Yes, I am. Yes, is that better? Yep. All right, so this conditional use 25-1 is for 574 Gladstone Avenue. Applicant is Zipley Fiber Pacific LLC. The applicant is requesting to locate barbed wire around a portion of their fencing as per the requirements of 173646 of the Butte-Silver Municipal Code. The property is legally addressed as 574 Gladstone Avenue. The Butte-Silver Municipal Code states that barbed wire may be used as a portion of a fence in a C1 local commercial zoning district via a conditional use permit granted by the Zoning Board of Adjustment. The conditional use process provides for review of public input, a measure of the potential impact of the proposed use on the surrounding area, and compatibility of the proposed use with the adjoining neighborhood. To provide the board with information about the proposed conditional use, the applicant and planning staff have responded to an established 20 questions. Here's an aerial view of where the fence is located. It's in a bit of a mixed use area. It's located within the C1, but is adjacent to an unzoned area as well as a residential area. So the green square is where they're looking to keep the barbed wire atop of the fence. There is currently barbed wire around the red portion as well. However, that will be removed. That was a choice the applicants made in response to hearing some concerns from neighbors. So this conditional use is only to obtain barbed wire around that green portion, which directly surrounds their telecom shelter. Here is an image of the fence. As you can see, the telecom fiber shelter, it's more visible in the right-hand image. So the location and character of the property and surrounding buildings. The property is located in a C1 local commercial zone. The parcel contains a telecom fiber shelter and an interior and perimeter 8-foot fence. The surrounding area consists of residential, commercial, and industrial uses. Other commercial uses such as a martial arts academy, a bank, a hospice office center, and a construction company are all in close proximity, as well as a single-family residential dwellings. Proposed fencing. So original construction included a 198 linear foot barbed wire fence at the height of 8 feet. This fence directly surrounds the telecom fiber shelter. Recently, an additional 416 linear foot barbed wire 8-foot fence was installed around the perimeter of the parcel. The applicant intends to retain the fencing but only keep the original 198 linear foot section with barbed wire in order to come into compliance with zoning code. All potential nuisances. Barbed wire may be used as a portion of fencing in the C1 zone by conditional use permit so long as the material is not located less than 8 feet above grade. The intent of the C1 zoning district is to allow for light commercial activity without causing undue detriment to the surrounding uses. The parcel is located in proximity to residential uses where sharp materials of this kind could pose a potential harm to children or adolescents. However, the existing barbed wire appears to meet the height and safety requirements. The use conforms to the objectives of the comprehensive plan and purpose of the ordinance. This parcel is located within the suburban mixed place type of the comprehensive plan. this place type has limited neighborhood scale commercial development may be present to serve local residents, adding to the feel of these areas as a transitional from suburban to urban in nature. In many instances, the mixed neighborhood acts to buffer the more traditional established neighborhoods from higher intensity commercial uses, allowing for that transition to occur more smoothly. The proposed use will not adversely affect nearby properties or their occupants. The telecom fiber shelter is a permitted use in the C1 zoning district, as is an 8-foot fence. A portion of the fencing may be permitted through the granting of a conditional use permit. Barbed wire may create a disconcerting buffer to the adjoining residential zone. However, the intent of the barbed wire is to increase the security of the property, including the telecom fiber shelter and other on-site property. Conditions of approval: the applicant is required to apply for a commercial building permit for the construction of the 416 linear foot perimeter fence. This permit shall be reviewed by the Butte-Silver Planning and Building Departments. The applicant will be required to meet all building, fire, and zoning code requirements where applicable. The applicant will be limited specifically to the business as stated and approved. Any further changes in business or building expansions will require further review by the Zoning Board of Adjustment. In conclusion, based on the information provided in the application, staff's analysis of the review criteria, and any public opinion as it relates to the criteria, the board must determine if the applicant has presented evidence to the satisfaction of the board that said undue detriment will not result from the granting of this conditional use permit. Thank you.
Thank you, Aidan. Would the applicant care to provide any further information with regard to this proposal? If you identify yourself, please, by giving your name and address.
Yes, my name is Jason Rosine. My address is 2210 121st Avenue Southeast, Lake Stevens, Washington. Ziply Fiber is new to the community of Butte. We're looking forward to serving the community of Butte and bringing our services to Butte. As mentioned, we look forward to the opportunity to be able to eliminate the barbed wire from the newly installed 416 linear feet of additional fencing, and we'd be happy to reduce to the original construction, the original 198-foot construction that was completed in November of 23. We think that would be a good accommodation, and we're happy to provide that and lessen the impact to the neighboring community and try to make good with the neighbors that we have.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
If I might ask a couple questions.
Absolutely.
Did you review the conditions suggested by the staff?
We did, yes.
Are they acceptable to you?
Absolutely.
Okay. What will be within the barbed wire section of your property?
That will be our original telecom shelter. So it will be just our telecom shelter, our stationary generator, and our electrical distribution. So we're just trying to protect our infrastructure within that smaller 198-foot fenced area.
Okay.
The larger fenced area of the remainder of the property is currently unused. We just don't want other abandoned vehicles or anything of that nature to find its way onto the property. And so we've fenced in the outer perimeter, maybe used for potential temporary storage through construction process or what have you, but no long-term development plans, no growth, no permanent usage of that space. So we're happy to remove the barbed wire from that component.
Okay. Are any residences located immediately adjacent to your property?
No.
What businesses are located adjacent to your property?
There was a Chinese restaurant. I believe it is 2 lots away.
The Chinese place?
Yes, but I think they're currently out of business. I don't know that there is a commercial application right directly adjacent to us.
Okay.
Across across Continental Drive, there's a construction company over there.
Mm-hmm. Is that the only businesses that are immediately adjacent?
I believe so.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. One thing I may add is that this is an unmanned facility for us. We will not have a lot of vehicular traffic through there. This is as I said, generally an unmanned outside of construction activity.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Is there anybody present that would care to speak in support of this application? Okay, hearing nobody, is there anybody present? Speak. Could you come forward, sir? Yes. And identify yourself by giving your name and address?
My name is Tim Russell, and the address immediately adjacent to the property, it has a 1485 Continental Drive. It contains the Martial Arts Academy, and then also a duplex apartment. So there is a residence adjacent. I have these people, when they came in a couple of years ago, I'd say you guys were real easy to work with. I didn't have a problem with the equipment. We had no clue what they were doing. It looked kind of crazy, but now we know what it is. But the original fence that surrounded the equipment with the barbed wire, I had no worries or concerns about that. It's kind of set back from the karate club. And so, but then I'm good with removing the barbed wire, like he says. That's going to be great. I wish the fence was lower. Almost looks like a prison camp next to the house next door. But what I would like to make sure is when they remove the barbed wire, they can remove the barbed wire, but will the brackets that hold the barbed wire, those, I would want to see those removed, because the appearance is as if it did have, for aesthetic purposes. So I would like you to enforce, I would like that to be enforced when they remodel it without barbed wire, that it would have normal caps. The other thing that I would like to mention, being that it's right adjacent to us, and so that in effect that fence is our fence. I would like to, and I talked to Aiden about this, and she didn't know if this was the place to discuss it, but I consider attaching some fence boards to the fence, to the barbed wire.
Fence what?
Some boards, or maybe slats, if they could put slats in that, just that one. It would be the south portion of that red line, so that it's visibility, cleans it up and makes it, the residents, more palatable, so, and I would be willing to attach like cedar boards to the fence, and I'm hoping that that would not be an issue with Sipley Fiber, that I could use their fence to attach something that looks better to the residents.
You would like to attach cedar boards that you would purchase to their fence?
I would purchase them, and I would attach them to the chain link that's there, and hope that that's not going to be an issue to them. They've been a good neighbor. I have no qualms with it's quiet. There's not much going on there, but just to improve the aesthetic value, because we do have a residence right there.
Okay.
That's all I have to add to.
Well, sir,
my
thank you for
comments.
your comments.
Okay, thank you.
The applicant now has an opportunity to address the concerns that were raised by the semi-opponent. Among them were he wants to stick cedar on your fence, and also the brackets, I guess.
Yes. So let's start with the brackets. So regarding the brackets, yes, our plan is very much to remove the extension arm that holds the barbed wire, and we'll put standard chain link caps. It'll look like the barbed wire was never even there, around the additional 416 linear feet. In regards to the cedar, I would be willing to I would be willing to do the slats I heard two suggestions in there, and one was that he asked if we could possibly do slats or cedar.
true.
I would like, my preference would be to do slats because that's actually incorporated within the fence. It's not something that's separately attached to the fence, where you have a, without knowing exactly how cedar would be attached to chain link, I'd be afraid that this would become a maintenance issue, something that could create issues in time, especially through, through winters and whatnot. I would be happy to add the additional screening, add the slats. I can authorize that today. I'm very happy to make that accommodation.
Be willing to, if that were made an additional condition?
That's right.
Okay. All right, anything further, sir?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Is there anybody else that would care to speak in opposition to this application? Hearing nobody, I'll close the public portion of the meeting and open it for board discussion. And once again, we have 15 days. Is everybody comfortable with deciding tonight? Okay, thank you. Any thoughts? It's very nice of Mr. Russell to offer to put cedar up, but I don't think that is something that we need to concern ourselves with. The slats do seem like a good idea to me.
Can I ask, would that just be on that south portion, or are you thinking of, I'm just curious what you all, was it just the south?
Okay, so we need to kind of do things on the record here. So I understand, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but you wanted to know would the slats be the entire structure, or would it be the barbed wire enclosure area? Is that correct?
That south section of the fence that's adjacent to us, that we share.
Okay. So now that we know what we're talking about, I will allow the applicant to step forward and tell us what his thoughts are with regard to that.
Yes, I'd be happy to do the entire south fence, so the original smaller portion in addition to the newly added section. I'm not sure the exact footage of that, but that entire south fence section.
Okay.
Separated between the two properties. I'd be happy to do slats and all of that.
Okay, that sounds good. Thank you, sir.
Yep.
Okay, the public portion of the meeting is indeed now closed. And do we have any thoughts or concerns from board members?
I have a hard time not approving this, hearing how amenable Zipley has been to the requests, so I'm fine with this.
Okay, Shanna?
Yeah, I have a question for the applicant, actually.
Sir, could you come forward, please?
So I'm mostly just concerned about aesthetics. Chain link is bad, barbed wire is worse. So I am curious if these are facilities that are commonly broken into or vandalized, and also, is this the same treatment that these facilities get in every community, in every neighborhood?
Yes and yes. Unfortunately, yes, these are often broken into. So that's why we've settled on chain link and barbed wire as our standard security application for these. It is not uncommon for us to have to do chain link patches, as people cut through the chain link or cut through the barbed wire. So we do expect that there will be ongoing repairs that are needed as a part of this. But that is very much our standard security application throughout all of these deployments through the Pacific Northwest.
And then I guess with regard to the slat discussion that was just had, maybe Director Crane can help me here. I think there's certain rules about opaque fencing versus see-through fencing and where that can happen and not happen.
There's the vision clearance triangle, and I don't know if that's a concern here or not.
Yeah, and I'll let you answer that.
Mr. Chairman, Member Adams, members of the board, we do require screening of industrial storage areas in industrial zones. We have not yet had many of the broadband shelters placed in neighborhoods at this time, so we do not have provisions for screening in residential neighborhoods.
This wouldn't block anybody vision of oncoming traffic anywhere, would it?
The only possibility on that would be the view from the driveway of the adjacent facility, of the neighbor's facility out to Gladstone. There definitely could be an impact there.
Not much traffic there, though.
Honestly, I'm not.
No, I
it
know
doesn't
that
seem
there's not.
that there is much, but I can't speak to that.
Sure.
If it makes more sense, we could even stop the screening 10 feet short of the corner or something to allow better sight lines out to the road.
Well, I think I would ask the planning staff to weigh in on that one.
Yes, with the original site plan, it did appear that the fence met the vision triangle requirements in
Okay.
all areas.
We're okay on that anyway then, huh?
Yes.
All right, thank you, Aiden.
Thank you.
Okay, not a problem.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it. Public portion of the meeting is now closed. We're open, I guess, for board discussion. Further board discussion. This seems like an acceptable project to me, and I can understand the reason for the security. The applicant has gone pretty far in meeting the concerns of the neighbor, and appreciate that. The neighbor has raised some legitimate concerns, and I believe they've been addressed. So unless anybody else wants to talk about it, I suggest that we have a vote.
I have one
Do you have a question,
comment,
Justin?
I guess. So the vision triangle is clear with the chain link. Is that going to change with slats? Is it going to kill the line of vision as you come around that corner? It's a great idea because the chain link is not desirable. It's not aesthetically pleasing, but if the field of vision there, especially since there's a middle school kind of not far, is there something there where they, like, you would have to clear it 20 feet from the street from Continental, or?
It should not disrupt, or the addition of the slat should not disrupt the vision triangle clearance because of the setbacks that are in place for that triangle.
Yeah, it's not right on the boundary line. Okay. So, chain link and barbed wire are not aesthetically pleasing, but they are permitted. So, and it seemed to be permitted for a genuine, legitimate reason here. So anybody have a thought with regard to making a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve conditional use permit 25-1.
I'll second that motion.
Thank you, Garrett.
Mr. Chairman, point of order, would the,
Yeah, with regard to the slats as an additional condition.
yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that, I should have.
That's okay.
Yeah, I'm fine with amending the motion to include the slots.
I'll second the amended motion.
Thank you again. Thank you, Stephen. All 6 votes are for the motion, which means that your application has been approved, and you will be receiving a letter from the planning staff to that effect. And good luck with your project and all of your business in Butte. Okay, thank you, sir. Do we have any further business?
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, I did want to point each of you to the agenda for the upcoming June 26th Planning Board meeting. A working draft of the new zoning ordinance has been published there and is available for your review. It will be introduced at the Planning Board with subsequent public meetings and public hearings scheduled. We're working on that schedule right now. With regard to Member Adams' discussion earlier about short-term rentals, you will see provisions within the code that specifically address the approach that Butte-Silver Bow is proposing to handle short-term rentals moving forward. In this particular iteration, we have emulated the approach that is being used in Bozeman, the city of Bozeman. In that particular code, the existing single-family short-term rentals would be grandfathered in, those that are permitted. And then we have 3 tiers of short-term rental where a rental would be available when maybe a occupant leaves for the weekend, or they could rent a floor of the home or a apartment in the home, or then also a room in the home. So definitely pay attention to that. Obviously, this is going to be quite an undertaking by our staff to address questions of the public, but being that this board has attended to and has addressed many of the special use, conditional use, and variances that have come before the body over the course of your tenures and even before that, your input and understanding of those situations would be very valuable to the public process, and so we would request and encourage you to participate. Even for those of you who have not stood on the board for any terms, I see Lexi and Justin are here. We also have new member Michael McEwen in the audience. We really want to make sure that you feel engaged in this process, and knowing that you are residents of the community and live among your neighbors and are business owners and work in the community, we really welcome you to bring that perspective to the process. So very much looking forward to this being a collaboration between the Zoning Board of Adjustment, which really handles the relief that you provide from the regulations that are set by the Planning Board as the Zoning Commission, but your input and your knowledge of the community as well is going to be very valuable. So I appreciate that you take the time to look at it, and if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to our staff. We're happy to sit down and chat with you or talk with you on the phone.
Thank you, Julia.
I'd also like to say that I believe that this will be Chairman Wing's last meeting at the Zoning Board of Adjustment. And I want to thank you for your service to Butte-Silver Bow. Member Wing, you've been with us for quite a long time.
All of this century and part of the last.
Which is quite a number of years, and I really appreciate the dedication that you've shown to our community and the attention to our community that you've provided, not only as a member, but as a chair. And thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
If you want to bake me a cookie, I'll take it. Okay. Thank you. Nothing further. The meeting will be adjourned.